Bruchim haboim. Welcome everyone. We're about to begin Be'ezras Hashem together on Daf Yud Zayin Amud Aleph, the last two words on the bottom line. The Gemara continues to tell us the Shmona Asar Dvorim that were enacted on that day. V'idoch Omar Tavi Rishbo Amar Shmuel Af Gidulei Truma. Even that which is used to then grow from Truma also has the same din as Truma. Boy Bayom Gozun, they were gozer that Gzeira on that day. My time, what's the reason for this Gzeira that Gidule Truma is Truma? Says the Gemara, Amrav Chanino, Gzeira Mishum Truma Tahara Biyad Yisrael. Maybe a Yisrael who has Truma in his hands does not want to part with it. He doesn't want to give it to the Kohen. And therefore, he knows that if he plants it, then it'll lose its status as Truma, become Chulin. So therefore the Chazal said that in order for him not to do that, we'll make sure that that Truma that he's going to then plant will also have the status of Truma. If we're choshid, if we suspect him for this, then we should suspect that he shouldn't then also give Truma altogether. And that can't be. Because kivan de efshel ma'abed chita achas kidishmuel, since that a person can fulfill his obligation of truma with just a chita achas, since the Torah doesn't specify what a person has to give for truma, unlike meiser where it says 1/10, truma can be any amount, and therefore even one chita is sufficient to then fulfill his obligation of truma. Certainly we will believe him, and therefore that can't be the reason for the gezeira of gidule truma. Ella gezeira mishum truma temeya biyad kohen. Rather, the gezeira is that truma that is temeya, that is in the hands of the kohen, the kohen cannot eat it now. He can only burn it, and the hana for burning is very minimal. So therefore, he will prefer to then plant it. Then let it grow, become chulin, he'll be able to eat it regularly. The Gemara says, what's the concern? Why do we make a gzeir for that? After all, he has the rights to truma, even truma that is tameya. Says the Gemara to explain. Dilma mashi lo gabe va'osi lidei takala. Maybe that truma tameya will remain by him before he ends up planting it. It'll remain in his rishus, and therefore he'll come to eat it. And since a kohen cannot eat truma tameya, therefore they were goyzer that gidule truma is truma, and therefore he will not come to then even hold on to it and subsequently want to plant it because he knows that it won't have any benefit to him. Says the Gemara, V'idach, another one of the 18 enactments, Omer Rabbi Chia bar Ami Mishmei De'ula. Af Misha Hichshich Loi Baderch. A person is traveling on the road on Erev Shabbos, and he doesn't make it to his destination before nightfall. He sees that Shabbos is coming. What should he do? So now it says, Noisin Kisa L'Nochri. Give your pocketbook to the Nochri. Instead of you walking with it, have him then walk it, hold on to it and walk it with you. Boy Bayam Gozru. In other words, instead of you walking with it and then walking with it in a way that's going to be pachos mochos midaled amos in the Rishus Harabim, the Chacham were concerned that maybe you wouldn't stop in the middle of the Daled Amos and you continue to walk and you'll be over in Isur Daraisa. So they preferred to make a gezeira that you must give your pocketbook, in this case to the Nachri, to then walk with you, so that you don't walk with it yourself on the onset of Shabbos. V'idoch, Amu Bali Amar Avimi Sinvaso, Piton Vishamnon V'yenon Ubenoiseyen Kulon Miyodches Dover Hein. So Bali said the name of Avimi Sinvaso, from the place of Sinvaso, that Piton, the Oivdei Avodas Zara's pas and their shemen and their yayin, which would lead to being alone with their bonois, therefore is one gezerah. In other words, midi araisa, a man is not to be misyached with a Jewish woman who is married. David HaMelech was gozer yichud on a single Bas Yisrael. And here, Shammai, Talmidei Shammai, Beis Shammai was gozer on a Gentile woman to have yichud together with her. Elul Rabbi Yossi, says the Gemara, Hanicha Rabbi Meir. All of this is good. Now we have counted 18 according to Rabbi Meir. How do we get to the 18? We started off with a Mishnah at the end of Zavim, which gave us a total of 9. Those were Shnim, that if it comes in contact with Truma, it will poisel the Truma. Then, on top of that, if you add the first 2 from the previous Mishnah, we had 2 Gzeros. One, not to check garments for lice in front of the Or Haner, and also not to read La'or Haner. So that gives us a total so far of 11. Subsequently, we had 7. What are those 7? We started off with one that was the putting a kli underneath a tzinor and was mekabel rainwater. It was considered to be mayim shuvim that will poisil bein hameniach bein hashoicheach. Then we brought, in addition to that, the mardeya. If you have even less than a tefach, so we said the person that is holding on to that mardeya, which is over the kever, that will cause him to then be tamei shiva yamim. That's number 2, or included 2 additional ones. The third one that we said was the benos kutim, that they were goizer on a girl that was bas yoim, that she has the din of a nida. The fourth one was boiser lagas, a person who is going to harvest the grapes for the wine press. That was also goizer huchshar tuma. The fifth one we just learned above was gidulei truma is truma. The sixth one is that a person who is walking and doesn't get to his destination on Erev Shabbos, so then he must give his kis, he gives his pocketbook to the Nochri. And the seventh one we just mentioned now is indeed pitam v'shamnon v'yeyanon, in order not to be misyached with a Nochri mishum chasanos. Says the Gemara, that's all Hanicha Rabbi Meir, who learns that one of those 7 that we just counted, the first of the 7, included the Mayim She'uvim. El Rabbi Yossi, who says that that's still a machloikis, and therefore that wasn't one that was gazur boba yoim. Then Shavserei Chavian, there are only 17 according to Rabbi Yossi. Where's the 18th? Ika Hod Rav Acha Bar Ado, the Amar of Acha Bar Ado, Amar Rabbi Yitzchok. There's an additional one. Gazu al pita mishun shamnon, ve'al shamnon mishun yenon. They made a gzeira of their pita, of their bread, because of their yayin, because of their oil, and their oil because of their yayin. Ask the Gemara, al pita mishun shamnon, their bread because of their shemen, because of their oil. My ulme the shemen mipas. Why is there more a concern to be goizer on shemen than for pas, that the pas will then bring to shemen? Ella, you must take that out and say gazu al pitam v'shamna mishun yenon. That's one. Val yenon mishun b'noi sehen, and the yayin because of b'noi sehen. Va'al b'noi sehen mishun davar acher. And their b'noseyim, that's what we said before until now, and b'noseyim now is mishum davar acher, because of avodah zorah. And now he adds ve'al davar acher mishum davar acher, and the davar acher will lead to another davar acher. Ask the Gemara, why davar acher? What is the second davar acher? The first davar acher is that b'noseyim will lead to avodah zorah. That's one davar acher. What's the second davar acher that the davar acher of avodah zorah will lead to? Omar Rab Nachman Bar Yitzchok Gazru al Tinoik Nochi Shematame Beziva. They were goizer on a Tinoik Nochri that he has the din of a Zov. and therefore he'll metamed like a zov. Shelo yeh tinok Yisrael rogel etzlo b'mishkav zocher, so that a tinok Yisrael should not be accustomed with him, he should be next to him, whereby he'll come in contact with him, he'll have the din of a avatuma. He'll become tamei from the zov, and therefore he won't lead to then chalila a case of mishkav zocher. Ihochi asked the Gemara, but if you just counted, we notice that there's an additional we added. There's now 19. Says the Gemara, no, oichlin v'kelim shenitmu b'mashkin b'chad chashiv lehu. That which we separated in the Mishnah in Zavim, one as being oichlin shenitmu b'mashkin, and another one being kelim shenitmu b'mashkin, that's really one of the same gezerah. The Gemara now brings a new Mishnah, Machlokes Beis Shammai Beis Hillel, on malachos that were done miba'od yom before Shabbos, and they're only completed on Shabbos. Says the Mishnah, Beis Shammai oimrim ein shoirin diyoi v'samonin v'karshinin. You cannot cause dio to be soaked in water. Dio is ink, and samonim and types of dye, v'karshinin. These are things that are given different types of beans that are soaked in order to give feed to animals. Ela kedei sheyisharu miba'od yom. Beis Shammai says that you cannot soak all of these things unless they're going to be completed the day before. Because Beis Shammai is of the opinion that there's something called shvisas kelim. Not only could the Jew not do malacha, but even his kelim cannot do malacha on Shabbos. And therefore, unless the malacha of Lisha in this case was done beforehand, and it was completed before Shabbos, it would be usher to be shoyret, to then soak these things in water, mi ba'od yom. Ubeis Hillel matrim, but Beis Hillel doesn't hold of shvisas kelim. Beis Shammai yomim ein noisnin unin shel pishton l'toichat tanur. He says you cannot take bundles of flax and put it in an oven, that it should become heated up the day before, right? Because that will be a malach of melaben if it doesn't be completed before Shabbos, and not the wool to be put in a large pot to be dyed. Unless it already absorbed the dye before Shabbos. Again, because shvisas kelim is also midiyaraisa lefi Beis Shammai. Ubeis Hillel matirin. Beis Shammai ein porsin mitzuda chayev v'oifois v'dogim. Ela kedei sheyatzudu miba'od yom. Beis Shammai is of the opinion that you can't spread out different things to trap animals, birds, or fish on Erev Shabbos, because then, by putting them out, it's likely that they will then trap them on Shabbos. Whereas Beis Hillel matirin. Beis Shammai oimrim ein moichrin lenochri, vein toyanin imoy, vein magbin alov. Beis Shammai says you cannot sell to a Gentile on Erev right before Shabbos, and you can't help him load his donkey right before Shabbos, and you can't put a load on his shoulders before Shabbos, unless he will arrive to his place, to his destination that is close by before Shabbos. Because we're concerned over here, says Beis Shammai, that you're going to then it's going to look like you're hiring this Gentile to do for you work now on Shabbos. Beis Hillel is not concerned about that. So long as it's a fixed amount that is not for a specific time, then the Gentile can do a work for you, even if it ends up being on Shabbos. You can't give, says Beis Shammai, you can't give hides to be worked out and made into leather, to be tanned. And you can't give clothing to a launderer for the malachim of libun, to a nachri, unless you can do it before Shabbos. Ubekulam Beis Hillel matim. But in all of these cases, Beis Hillel's matir, he's not considered shvisas kelim on Shabbos, and he's also not concerned about hiring out a Gentile before Shabbos if it's something that the Gentile can do on his own, and it's not for a specific hourly wage. And therefore, Beis Hillel matirun im Hashemesh, so long it is still Erev Shabbos. Omer Rabbi Shimon Gamliel, Noihagin hoyu beis Abba, shahoyu noisnin kli lavon l'koives nochri shloisha yom kodim l'Shabbos. When it came to white garments, they were more difficult to clean, and therefore it took longer. So the house of Rabbi Shimon Gamliel, they were accustomed to giving the koives 3 days in advance before Shabbos. In other words, they were machmir like Beis Shammai, they should be completed before Shabbos. And although the halacha is like Beis Hillel, but they were machmir in the house of Rabbi Gamliel. Veshavin, and the Mishnah concludes, Eilu ve'eilu shetu'unin karas Beis Habad v'igulei hagas. Even Beis Shammai agrees together with Beis Hillel that in the event that they would then take the olives or the grapes in order to squeeze them, and they would press them before Shabbos, and all that was left to do, because they already finished doing any malacha, then they would put afterwards a board, a beam that is heavy, to then put it on top of these olives and tops of these grapes, just to allow the rest of the juice to then come out and ultimately come out of those grapes and those olives. So that itself is not a malacha, because the malacha was already done. Mefarik, the malacha of squeezing, that was done beforehand. All this is going to be doing is expediting the lachluchis, the juice from the olives and the juice from the grapes, to then come out from those olives and grapes. So all they're doing is putting it onto the grapes and the olives with this heavy beam. That is only a problem to do midrabanan. So even Beis Shammai would be masking, would be moeded to Beis Hillel over here, that one can do that before Shabbos. So in summation, it says like this: according to Beis Shammai, when there is a malacha that cannot be performed before Shabbos, and it will continue to be done on Shabbos with one of your kelim, that would be also midiaraisa, because Beis Shammai holds that kelim, there's such a thing as shvisa bekelim. Your kelim cannot do malacha for you, just like you can't do malacha for yourself, and just like your animal cannot do malacha for you. Beis Hillel does not ascribe to that view, and therefore he says all of these things are mutter.